But that's just a historical thing where the yellow lines are. So the powers to enforce, we currently use what we call the 2004 Traffic Management Act, which is the central government act. We issue penalty charge notices. Now, you will see in the paper and lots of other places that private car parks that are rogues, they issue all these rogue notices. They're unfortunately also called PCNs because theirs are called parking charge notices. I wish they was called something else because they give us a hard time over it. Private car park operators, unfortunately, can virtually do what they want. Apart from clamp, they're not allowed to do that anymore. But we are very much governed by central government rules and the Traffic Management Act, but unfortunately we all get tarred with the same brush. Our notices used to be, before 2017, they were criminal, so if somebody didn't pay one, we used to take them to the magistrates' court. Since 2017, they're a civil offence. If somebody doesn't pay, we take them to the county court. And if they still don't pay, we pass it to the council's enforcement agents, which is now a more popular name than what we used to call them, bailiffs. We have to have a 3-stage appeal process. 2 of them are in-house, and the last one is totally independent of the council. It's run by the Traffic Tribunal, which is a government-run agency, but we have no influence at all, and it doesn't cost the public any money at all to go to that 3rd stage. This is a bit controversial. Before 2017, the driver was responsible for any parking infringement. Since 2017, it's the vehicle keeper. This is, again, central government rules. So even if you weren't in the vehicle at the time the vehicle made the contravention, because your friend or your husband or your wife did it, if you're the keeper, you're the one we're going to go after in court. It's probably totally unfair, but that's unfortunately the way we have to do it. Now, on our handsets, they are very magical equipment. They do all the issuing. They tell me where the officers are. They offer all sorts of things. Now, they do this, which is what we call a heat map. Now, this is the last full year we did, which is 2019. Obviously, I didn't include last year because that's completely, for obvious reasons, not valid. But the more the officers are in an area, the darker the colour. So I think you can see there that if I actually put up the other map that we had earlier, the yellow lines, you probably match a lot of those dark areas where the yellow lines are. But these are from the handset. So every 5 minutes, the handsets pump up to the GPS satellite and back down again, and they'll produce a little dot. The more dots, the darker the colour. So this sort of lets me know. When people say, well, you never come to my street or you never do this, yeah, this is a very broad brush, but I can actually drill down to the actual street as well to actually say how many times that officer has actually been to that street and exactly what time he's been to that street, which is always very useful when dealing with complaints. This is a very similar map. So this one here is the issues and the observations. So the red colour is where we've actually issued notices, and the other colour is where we've done an observation. So if you remember back when we have to do a 5 or 10 minute observation, that will be the lighter colours. Where we've actually issued a notice, that would be the darker red colours. So yeah, there's lots of areas where we note a vehicle and 4 minutes 58 seconds later the driver comes back and moves the vehicle, then there's no contravention, and hence it will not produce a red dot. But again, this is more for interest, to show people, just to show that what we're doing, and almost to prove that we are actually out there. This is a bit more drilled down, as I said earlier, so I can produce these reports, and this is just an example. It's telling me where the officer was, and if you look at the top one, Harbour Road, during this time there were 3 visits. We did no observations that day, and this is the time he was actually on site. If you actually move down, because obviously Harbour Road there is a much quieter area than the High Street, and part of the reason I've just looked at this one page, and I think the whole report is something like 100 pages, so I've just given you a snapshot. But you can see that the High Street has been a much more popular place. There's so many visits, there's so many observations. So if you look at the top one, we visited that street, or the High Street, 18 times. We did 33 registering the registration numbers, but which only resulted in 6 notices being issued. So that just tells me there's 27 drivers came back within any grace time, and therefore a notice wasn't issued. This is actually on our website and can be looked at by the public. When we first started, there was a lot of confusion. Who can park on a yellow line? Who can do this? Who can do that? So this is one page of about 6 that we have on our webpage. And it basically tells people what we enforce and how we enforce it. So we're trying to be as above board as much as possible. So double yellow line, it's technically no waiting, but you can stop to let the passengers in or out. You can unload and unload. And there's a 20-minute maximum time. 5 minutes for non-commercial, 10 minutes for commercial. So what that means is if you're in a car, and as long as you keep going back to your car within every 5-minute period and don't exceed the 20 minutes, that's totally legal. What we generally find, unfortunately, people park there for longer than 20 minutes, or they unload one box and then never come back to the vehicle until the 20 minutes is up, in which case they've made a contravention there. It's also, and it doesn't say that, but it's a bit of judgmental thing. It has to be what we call burden. So you can't unload one single mobile phone, which could be considered a personal item. The way I say it, if you unload one phone, that's personal. If you've got a box of 100 phones, then I'd probably consider that burden. And burden being a large, heavy or awkward load. So there is a bit of judgment call sometimes. But on the whole, the ones that are doing it properly know they're doing it properly, and the ones that are trying to do it just because they want to do it is they almost know they're doing it when they shouldn't. There are loading restrictions, and again, where there's something banned, it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, for us to allow any grace time. If it's banned, it's banned, and we can't then go, yes, I know it's banned, but we'll give you 5 minutes. It doesn't sort of work. Now, again, this is 2017's data,